What we're going to look at today is we're going to look at testing for biological molecules. Okay, if you've got any coloured pens when you're doing your revision notes, then this can help to make your revision notes nice and bright, and you can actually use the appropriate colours, which might make learning it a little bit easier. Okay, so we're going to start off by looking at testing for certain carbohydrates. And the first one we're going to look at is the test for starch. The test for starch is very simple. We just add iodine solution. If it's a negative test, that means there is no starch present, it will remain orange-brown. And that's just the normal colour of the iodine solution. If, however, we have a positive test for starch, it will change colour, this time to blue-black. Be very careful always to write blue/black, because the exam board don't like you to just say dark blue or just blue on its own. Okay, so that's the test for starch. The second test within the carbohydrates is to test for reducing sugars such as glucose. Here the test is a little bit more complicated because we have to heat. So this time we're going to add Benedict's, solution, and heat. It's about 80 degrees C. Again, if we have a negative test, so there is no reducing sugar present, the Benedict's will remain a blue solution. If, however, we have a positive test for reducing sugar, we'll get a change in colour, this time to a brick red or orange red precipitate. Precipitate means we should start to see solid precipitating out into the solution. Now we can also test for non-reducing sugars. So these are going to be reducing sugars which are joined together, so the larger of the carbohydrates. Now if we want to test for a non-reducing sugar, the first thing we need to do is to repeat the test for a reducing sugar. And we'll observe a negative result. So we get a negative result. Okay, so we've tested for reducing sugar, we've got a negative result showing that we've got a larger sugar here than a simple reducing sugar like glucose. So the next thing we have to do is we have to break it down back into a reducing sugar. So in order to do this, we boil with dilute acid. So we're boiling with dilute hydrochloric acid. Here we're going to see the breaking of the glycosidic bonds. So now that we've broken the glycosidic bonds, we've got an acid environment, so we have to neutralise it. So this time we're going to neutralise with sodium hydrogen carbonate. And then we're going to repeat our test for reducing sugars. So we're then going to heat with Benedict's. So what we've actually done is we've got a non-reducing sugar, we've broken it down into reducing sugars, and now we should see the same result. So again, if we have a negative test, we're just going to see the colour of the Benedict's, which is a blue solution. But after we've carried out the test, if we've broken the glycosidic bonds and we've got reducing sugars again, then they will show up with Benedict's as a brick red precipitate. Okay, so that's the carbohydrates. The next ones that we're going to look at is the test for the lipid. Okay, the test for a lipid is called ethanol emulsion test. So if we're testing usually something like sunflower oil, we would add our lipid to ethanol, the alcohol, which causes the lipid to dissolve, and then add water. Okay, if we have a negative test, the solution remains clear. If we have a positive test for a lipid, we get a milky white precipitate. Sorry, a milky white emulsion. Okay. And then the last thing that we need to test for is we need to be able to do a test for protein. The test for a protein is to use Biuret reagent. If we just literally add it, so a negative result would just be the colour of the Biuret, which is a pale blue solution. If we get a positive test for a protein, then we see a change in colour, and the change is to that of a lilac colour. And again, you need to use the word lilac and not purple. Okay, now we've revised the testing of biological molecules. Now we need to see and have a go at a practice question.